Check, check, check. I think we are live. Thank you so much for watching a Jaguars United live show. We're pretty pumped about today because we're talking all things Jags. We've got some big news coming out about the Jags and things that are happening. Dave Caldwell fired. That's huge news. That's stuff that we're going to keep an eye on, and we're going to talk about potential replacements and guys coming in. But, man, the Jags lose to the Browns in a similar way that they've always lost. I mean, 3 out of the last 4 weeks, the Jags have lost to the spread, meaning the Jags were supposed to lose by a certain amount of points. Besides last week to the Packers game, they have covered the spread in 3 out of the last 4 weeks. How do I know that? I keep a close eye on the spread, things that are going to happen. And it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It could be Jake Luton, could be Mike Glennon, but it always seems like they cover the spread. 3 out of the last 4 weeks, important to see. That kind of seems like the side point. Week after week, it seems like the Jags are trying to say fire everyone, get rid of the team, get rid of the staff, and then finally the Jags fire Dave Caldwell. So here we are with the Jags team with no GM. Dave Caldwell, who's probably run his course here in Jacksonville. I mean, I can't imagine someone keeping their job as long as Dave Caldwell did, but somehow he has. So here he is. Dave Caldwell gone. Dave Caldwell fired. The guy who drafted you players like Luke Jokel, Leonard Fournette, Jalen Ramsey, guys like that. They go on and on and on. The steals like Yannick Ngakoue, the players that you thought, man, that was a good signing. James Robinson, great signing. Keelan Cole, great signing. But then again, we have the reaches and the guys that didn't want to be here, and it seems like that it's not worth it. And for me, it all comes down to this. The home run hires that the Jags have made are like home runs, and they're easy to make. But the people that he reached on, the Quincy Williams, the Josh Oliver, I mean, it's obvious that it didn't work out. So interesting to see what happens here. There's a lot going on here. I want to get to the chat. That's what we do. We're at Jags United. You can go to Jags_United on Twitter or at Jags United_ on Instagram, which I'm not great at keeping up with, but I'm trying. That's all I can say. We do live shows. If you listen to the podcast after the fact, we do live shows. Today, we're actually going to look at the video. We're going to look at the film. We're going to look at the things going on. And we're going to see kind of what happened and things like that. And we let the fans do the talking. There's an obvious gap for the fans doing the talking, and we're going to do that here. So make sure you follow us on YouTube. We're at Jaguars United. Get your voice out there, get your comments out there, and we will definitely talk about it. I'm obviously wearing my Bortles shirt here. If you can't see, we roll with Bortles. If he's got COVID or not, it doesn't matter. We roll with Bortles no matter what. So shout out to the Broncos who completed like one pass today. So let's go. Charlie Boy says, what is happening, man? Good news of the firing. Joey is going to be one happy camper. Joey, who we're going to have on the show tomorrow, Joey does shows with us on Monday nights. He was under the impression that the Jags were going to keep everybody and that there was going to be a retainment of everyone on the staff. He said GM, he said head coach. I disagreed with him adamantly. I didn't think that was going to happen. You can't possibly keep a player, or a front office, a staff like that. And for Dave Caldwell, and this is what's really strange to me, for him to get the boot like now is really, really strange. Like, think about it. Like, we knew Dave Caldwell was bad. We knew he was going to get fired. And then, like, week 11, you fire him? Like, is this really odd timing to anyone else besides me? Like, I don't understand. Like, maybe there's something that's happening. Like, maybe there's a candidate that came up that is just now being to the surface. Like, Harbaugh is the one that comes to mind. I'm not saying we're going to hire Jim Harbaugh, but he's probably going to get fired after the loss to Penn State, giving Penn State their first win. And is Harbaugh going to be available on the market? And if he is that a guy the Jags go after? I'm just throwing it out there. Charlie Boy, good to see you. Sav Jag says Christmas came early with the firing of Dave Caldwell. It's just weird timing for me. Like, I don't get it. It's just weird timing for me. I don't understand like why it happened when it did. It's just random. It's just super, super random. Kev Click says it's a historic day for the Jags. Dave is finally gone. Very historic. Again, he's made so many picks. Like, I don't even really understand like what's happening here. I figured he was going to get fired, but the fact that he got fired now is pretty good. So we're rewatching the game here, and if you're watching it on YouTube, then we're rewatching the game, and we're seeing the Jags here. Like one of their first defensive possessions, they had the Browns pinned pretty deep, and the Browns tried to run the ball out of the end zone. They got a tackle for loss, and then they ended up. The defense looked good in the first half, and here's what I kind of wanted to say and what stood out to me, and maybe I'm the only one, but does this defense seem like it's better now than it was at the beginning of the season? Like, look back at the Packers game is aside. The Packers blew us out. Like, I get that. But look back at the other games. Does it seem like that the defense has played better recently with these no names? I mean, I think we looked at it on the opening day roster, and now there's 4 players that were on the opening day roster as starters on the defense. 4 players. The defense looks better now than it did when the Jags had 4 players. When everyone before, the defense that they rolled out there that was getting just run over by every single team. The defense looks better now with a bunch of, Luke Barco. These guys that are out there playing good. Joe Schobert, I never understand he was blocking his own teammate, and that was kind of weird for a second. But everyone else, strange. Sun and Surf 99 on the Twitter comments says Denny Thompson coming on the show. Me and Denny are boys. I spent a lot of time with Denny back in the day. I used to coach with Denny. I respect his opinion more than anyone else. If you were to tell me you could have any guy's input on the team, I would say Denny Thompson. The dude knows what he's talking about. He's gotten a lot of clout in the local radio. If you're in the Jacksonville area, you know that. He's gotten a lot of clout quickly amongst local people because you spend any amount of time talking to Denny, and he knows what he's talking about. So shout out to Denny. He's a real one for sure. Who is your ideal GM head coach for next year, says Joe Ross on YouTube. Well, it's tricky, and that's what I go back to with this odd timing of the firing because, we all saw this coming, but it's such a random time. Usually you see it's the end of the year or mid-year and early in the season, but week 11, you make a firing like a head coach. You fire a coach, you promote the offensive specialist or the defensive backs coach. You promote special teams coordinator. You promote someone that can kind of rally the team, maybe salvage the season. We're obviously in tank mode. What's the point of firing them now? I understood what they were doing. They were letting these guys ride it out. They were letting the team ride it out. You see it happen with the Jets. Adam Gase, lame duck head coach. What's the dude doing even calling plays? That was the most pathetic game. I was rooting more for the this is sad. I was rooting more for the Jets to win than I was the Jags. I was holding on to every single moment for the Jets. Dude, the Jets defense played pretty well. The offense was just really, really pathetic. And it was sad to see, but it is what it is. But I was rooting for them. But man, you see them hold on to their staff, and it makes sense, and you understand. But you look at a team like the Jags, and you're okay, they're gonna hold on to their people. They're gonna fire everyone. They're gonna let new people make it. If you're putting it on me, who do I want? That's a tough question. Without getting into the nitty-gritty of particular people and going into their background, I would probably say that I would just want anyone that's been on a semi-successful team. And it could be an assistant, it could be a scout, I don't even care. Just someone who's been on a semi-successful team, and that's what you want. And that's what you usually see these GM coaches go. You're kind of seeing recently these NFL Network analysts. Okay, what is going on here at Keelan Cole? If you're watching the live show, we got to take a look at this. I like this play design, and I'm sorry to interrupt my thought, but when I see this, it's just I love Keelan Cole, dude. I was banging the Keelan Cole drum all year, but then you look at a play like this, and this is not an ideal situation. You don't want a quarterback throwing into to a receiver who's double covered, but you're you know what the hell? We got Keelan Cole, who's a good deep threat guy. They even made a mention of him during the game, saying that he was the deep threat weapon for Kentucky Wesleyan, when in my mind I was kind of thinking like he was probably the only weapon for Kentucky Wesleyan, but that was just a side point. But you throw it to him in double coverage. You got two slappies here that are just completely out of position. I don't know a lot about football as far as like I never played pro, but you don't want to be watching Keelan Cole make a play on the ball. Not a bad throw. Like literally, you're 1 and 9. You chuck it, Hail Mary, and it bounces off the dude's like chest pad. Yeah, I mean you don't expect Keelan Cole to make that throw, or that catch, but at the same time, it's like, dude, that would have been totally clutch. Kev Click says Eric Bieniemy or Joe Brady as the head coach and Daniel Jeremiah as GM. See, that kind of goes. I mean, that's the best of both worlds. You're getting like an up and coming assistant, and you're getting like an NFL Network analytics GM. That's the best of both worlds. I don't think you're gonna get that completely together. I would love it, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. Nick F says, I mean, we got one of our offseason signings back in Aaron Lynch, and yeah, other players have stepped up, like my boy Barku. Even though he didn't lose some reps against Jarvis. Okay, Jarvis Landry just completely went off. We knew that was going to happen. I mean, I think anyone that follows the sport even semi-closely could have told you that the Cleveland receivers were going to have a field day. You saw guys in Cleveland's tight end depth chart room making plays that no one's ever heard of before. But, I mean, you get it. I'm proud of what this defense did. I mean, we had a tweet on our Twitter talking about this team compared to like Alabama's team, and I know I'm not trying to be like that douche that's comparing a horrible NFL team to a college team, but you think back to like some of these like legit teams, Florida State 2012, Alabama 2013-14, teams like that. Like I don't know how well this team like honestly ask yourself like. I do this because of the regional bias. There's a bunch of Florida State fans in Jacksonville. I mean, I follow Florida State. I'm not a Florida State fan. But that Florida State 2012-13 team with, like, Jameis Winston where, like, every single player went pro and, like, had a decent career, like, that team would probably beat this Jags team. And that's fine. I get we're tanking. Like, I'm not delusional. But, like, Dave Caldwell put that team together. And Dave Caldwell is responsible for what's going on the field right now. And even if he went into Shad Khan's office at the beginning of the year and was like, our best chance at winning is getting one of these quarterbacks that's coming out, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, I'll even give you like a Zach Wilson or a whatever, Trey Lance. How does your product look this bad? It blows my mind. Getting back into the comments, Al Cajones says, hopefully Devon Hamilton's injury isn't bad. Yeah, was it Joe Bitonio? He had back-to-back injuries within like a minute on guys on our team. That was like super annoying. Like, dude, can you not play the game of football without injuring people? The Falcons have this safety, Casey. I think he was the guy that injured Marquise Lee. Dude, the dude is just like known for injuring people. Like, dude, like what kind of player are you that's known for injuring players? Like, come on, get out of here. Nick F says, Bucky Brooks as the GM or the Chiefs director of football operations, Mike Borings. That's some like in-depth research. Like a guy like that, like you'd be okay with the Chiefs director of football operations, but you'd probably be okay with like the Seahawks director of football operations. You'd probably be okay with the Patriots director of football operations. And you see where I'm going with this? Like when it comes to front office personnel, when Dave Caldwell was hired, he was hired from Atlanta. He was hired as a guy who was years above, miles beyond his years, whatever the phrase is. Like he was a guy that was known for like just being like beyond what he is and like the up and coming guy. When it comes down to being an owner, you have the option of hiring a guy that's up and coming, which is like Dave Caldwell. You can look back at like everyone that we've hired, and they've been that. Dave Caldwell, Gus Bradley, Shaq Harris was even a guy like that. Jack Del Rio got his shot here. You can do that, or you can hire like a veteran that's been fired, and those are really your only options. So yeah, I mean, those are that's what you have to work with. It's a tough situation, and everyone's really quick to blame Shad Khan and things like that. I get it. Like the dude's had a horrible record here. you can't brush past the fact that he's been a horrible owner as far as wins go. But when you look at the decisions he's made, like, I think any of us would have hired Tom Coughlin, right? And when it happened, we would have been quick to hire him. I don't think any of us would have signed Gus Bradley to an extension or Blake Bortles to an extension. But, the Tom Coughlin thing looked good when it first happened. It's hard. It's hard. Again, those are your options. You take an up-and-coming guy from a franchise that's doing well, or you take a guy like NFL Network or something like that, or you get like a guy that's been fired. So, those are your options. Nick F says Bucky Brooks. Bucky Brooks is a big option, a really popular option here, and I get it. But at the same time, he's going to be a guy you roll the dice on. Ronaldo Gonzalez says, finally the Jags are smart. Caldwell is gone. Yes, yes, yes. I agree. I think Caldwell, the thing was very long overdue. I think we find someone from a winning franchise. Yeah, I hope so. Here we got Rosas, who is the most jacked kicker in the NFL. He's just going to absolutely nail a kick from the 44-yard line. That's what you want. Okay, so we have the film up here. We're watching the film, and there's a lot of people in the stands that aren't actually people. Number 20 looks like he's watching. This dude right here looks like he's in a Florida State shirt, rooting on the team. This guy looks like he's in an Ohio State or an Oklahoma State shirt. And then you got a bunch of cardboard cutouts in the background. I heard Chad Ochocinco was here somewhere. Don't quite see him here in the film, but at this point, think about it. The Jags have had pretty entertaining games. I think at the beginning of the season when we talked about what we want to happen, Minshew wins the first game. We wanted Minshew to be good. But then after we kind of saw that we're bad and we lost 10 in a row, we realized we needed a quarterback. And I think everyone that was watching the Jags was kind of okay, I want an entertaining team, but I want to lose. Think about that. That's a pretty lofty request. You want a team that's entertaining and that's kind of in it, but then loses ultimately to get a good quarterback. And if you think about it, that's kind of what the Jags have been. Again, I'm taking out the Packers game. That was a blowout. But the last 4 games besides the Packers game have been literally the Jags score on the last drive of the game with a chance to win. If there's one indictment on Doug Marrone, it's that the dude has zero concept of how to call a 2-point conversion play. He couldn't call one in the third quarter. He couldn't call one in the fourth quarter. He couldn't call one against the Texans. We go back back to 2018, he couldn't call them. Dude, you can't draw up a play that is guaranteed a touchdown. We watch players like Taysom Hill catch passes. We watch the Philly specials happen every week, and the Jags go with a rollout to the left with Mike Glennon, and he throws it to the back of the end zone to Chark. Makes no sense to me. Nate says the second pick should be a draw for a competent GM. Can you trade picks for a GM? That would be probably the dream. Hey, we'll take your nutritionist for a third-round pick. I wonder how often that would happen. But the Jags have a 3-0 lead. Again, it's not the fact that the Jags are outmatched by these teams. It's the fact that the Jags can't. Logan Cook gets absolutely destroyed on this kick return. Logan Cook's the man. Okay, Logan Cook is the jam, but the dude gets blown up on this play. Let's just watch. My bad, Logan. Dude. You should never be in a position where your right leg is further north than your left leg. If that's happening, then I'm sorry. And really 35, who couldn't even tell you who it is. Bro, come on. You can't eat that block for your punter / kicker. Jake Thompson says, yo, what's up? Moon Illusion says, what a day today was. Yeah. I think Jags fans are just happy that Caldwell was finally fired. Jake Thompson, I'm glad Caldwell is gone. Yeah, I get it for sure. God, Jake. Oh, Jesus. Logan Cook, high school quarterback. Zach Jones says, I was bummed on the Jags this year, but it feels good to at least have some hope again. I think the hope is the fact that we have a chance at a decent quarterback. The Jags have not had a quarterback in a long time. The Jags haven't had tight end in a long time. The Jags haven't had a good offensive line in a long time. But you know what? You fix all of that by getting a quarterback. And I don't care if it's Justin Fields. I don't care if it's Zach Wilson. I don't care if it's Trey Lance. I don't care if you go out and sign Dak Prescott. Don't care. Get a quarterback. Get a quarterback, and then you will be able to win games. It all starts there. All starts at the top. The top is the GM. Dave Caldwell fired. Let's go. Trent Balk taking over. I mean, I like Trent Balk. I mean, I think he could be a guy. Man, these rollouts that the Browns ran, man, the defense, anytime you get beat on play action bootlegs, like that's kind of discipline on the backside player that you're not doing your job. And, you know, the defense actually shut down Nick Chubb for most of the game. Like, I was hanging out with a buddy who had Nick Chubb on his fantasy team, and he was just griping the entire game about the fact that Chubb couldn't do anything. So, Moonaloo says, are you doing a game breakdown? Yeah, I am kind of watching the game. Look, I'm more into game breakdowns when they're, like, kind of close. But to be honest, like, these games are not close. Like, and not in the fact the score is close, because the score is obviously close. The Jags actually covering the spread in most of the games. It's that, like, you have no excitement going into the game. Like, I'm someone who plans their year around the 17 Jaguars games a year, whether they're Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday. I plan my life around those. And the fact that, like, the last 3 games, like, I would have rather golfed. I would have rather gone out and, like, been outdoors and done something productive with my life than watching this abysmal of a team. And again, no indictment on the players. If anything, like, I applaud the players. The players are playing their asses off. It's the front office that are putting together this, like, scrub of a team, undrafted players, free agent players, the youngest team in the league, not signing anybody, having the most cap room, and then trying to tell me they're trying to field a competitive team. It's just, I don't know. It gets me. But, I mean, the Jags did their best with the players they have. I mean, Jarvis Landry actually had, like, a pretty good game. I mean, when you're a defense and you see this formation, I mean, look, you can look here. The Jags got 4 down linemen, and you can say whatever you want about the defensive front, but, I mean, look at how many guys the Jags have within, like, 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Like, I understand it's in the red zone, but we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll count this guy. 10 guys are within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and either in the hashes or just outside of the hashes. Like, is that on the coaches? Is it on the coaches that this defense can't stop this? This was a good play design. And honestly, I thought the Jags played pretty good defense against this. The play action froze the backers. Jarvis Landry just makes a good play. And that just goes down to your player is better than the opposing team's player. But the thing is you don't get better players on your team without signing players or without drafting players. And when you have the youngest team and you have we'll call it the cheapest team, the most inexpensive, I wouldn't say they're cheap. I mean, I don't want to disrespect these guys, but, like, that's an indictment of what you're trying to do. Shout out to the people in the chat. We appreciate you guys being here. We're kind of breaking down the film. We're kind of watching the game. Got kind of bored tonight. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Love breaking down the film. Love talking to you guys. So I figured, you know what, we'd fire it up. We'd do a live show. We post a podcast the next day. You can check it out on the Big Cat Country feed. If you just search up Big Cat Country, they host us. They basically, what that means is they pay for us to put our podcast on there. And we'd be idiots to turn that down. So we post that up to there. But if you're listening to it and you're wondering what we're talking about as far as the comments and then the video, we do a live show on YouTube. Tomorrow night we'll be on with Joey. We'll be doing a live show that we do, taking your questions. But tonight we are just chilling, watching some film or rewatching the game. If we get copy striked by YouTube, then you know what? That's what it is. What it is. Zach Jones says, what NFL team do you think has the best GM situation to poach assistants from? I'm leaning Ravens, as they've fleeced multiple teams this offseason, including us. That's a good question. You have to look at teams in front offices that have had sustained success. But the first thing that stands out is a team like the Patriots, who gets poached all the time, and those people never seem to work out. We just saw Matt Patricia just got fired from the Lions. It's a tough situation because a lot of owners will try to like play 4D chess and try to dip into the analytics and get guys that are like looking into more than just like the X's and O's. And you get a guy like Dave Caldwell, which is what we had here for a long time. Or you go with like a gut guy, like a Bucky Brooks, or who's the guy out in L.A., or, you know what I mean, like, or in Vegas. You know, it's Mike Mayock. Like, you can get a gut guy, you can get an analytics guy. At the end of the day, you're kind of rolling the dice. Every team goes through it. It seems like these good teams, like their trees and branches don't do well. Like, you think of the best coaches in the NFL, you think of Bill Belichick. His tree has not been great. You think of a guy like Pete Carroll. His guys have not been great. We saw that here, like, you know, personally with Gus Bradley. It's strange. It seems like Andy Reid's guys seem to be doing pretty well. Just from my own personal opinion, we got some people that are saying Daniel Jeremiah. Moon Illusion says the Steelers. The Steelers again, but you remember, like, I feel like their coach is on the hot seat like every other year. Like, Mike Tomlin's a great coach, but every other year it's like, oh, is he good enough? And it really is a roll of the dice. TJ Maxx plays says, "What's up, my guy?" What's up, TJ Maxx? I can't wait till we get a quarterback next year. And with Caldwell gone, I feel like we're finally going to get what we deserve. The Rams pick's looking pretty bad. I'm going to be completely frank with you guys. The Rams pick is looking pretty awful. However, the Jags pick, I mean, it's up to them what they're going to do. And they're probably going to get a quarterback. And depending on what pick they have is going to determine their quarterback. The question I have for people is, if you're not getting Trevor Lawrence, if you're not getting Justin Fields, who's the third best quarterback? Because here are your options. It's Zach Wilson, it's Trey Lance, and it's a guy like Dak Prescott. So, I mean, when you get guys like that, it's hard to figure it out, and it's hard to know. So it really is hard to know what it is.